everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of Movie Dudes. My name's Phil,
My name's Alec.
and this week we're talking about Bong Joon-Ho's first big success, Memories of Murder. Alright, so Memories of Murder is a film, as I said, directed by Bong Joon-Ho back in 2003. So Bong Joon-Ho, for those who don't know, is obviously the guy who almost 2 years ago won the Academy Award for Best Picture with Parasite, and
Was that actually 2 years ago now? Oh,
no, it was a year. Nearly, it was a year and a half.
yeah. That's still too long. It still doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
But yeah, and so Memories of Murder is, before he made Parasite, Memories of Murder was considered as like his masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an amazing film, and I'm really happy to be talking about that one today. So should we just go through like the actual plot of the film?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right. So this film is kind of like a historical film. It's about basically what's considered as the first serial killer in South Korea, who basically was a guy who raped and killed 10 women, and he was basically the first big serial killer in South Korea. And the film basically follows three detectives who try to figure out who the killer is and try to catch him. So the film mainly follows one of the detectives who I forgot his name. Hold on, let me just pull out the.
Yeah, I'm really bad at remembering Korean names.
Right.
In general, but hang on 1 second. I'll look it up in my DVD case that I have right here.
Yeah, because we both got the Criterion edition of the film, which came out a few months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The I guess, I don't know, who would you say is like, I don't know, the main character? It's the two main guys. It's
more than that. I'd say it's the on Google it says his name is Park Do-man, which is the character played by Song Kang-ho, who a lot of people will know as the father in Parasite, who's an actor that I discovered through Bong Joon-Ho's movies, since he's done a bunch of films with him, and he's just such a fantastic actor.
He's incredible. Like he's
really good.
He's so good. I've only seen him in, obviously Parasite and this, because I haven't seen any other Bong's films. But he was great in Parasite, but he's like insane in this one.
Yeah, you should see him. You should see him in Snowpiercer, because he doesn't have a really major role. He's more like a just a side character. But his character is just so different from his characters in Parasite and Memories of Murder. He's a lot more serious, and I think it's just shows the range of his acting.
Yeah, I found out, by the way. I got my syllabus this week for one of my film classes, and I learned that we'd be watching, among other films, we're going to be watching Snowpiercer. For the class.
Nice.
Other films we're going to be watching is The Lighthouse, which I'm really excited to revisit.
Ooh, that was good.
And Rushmore. and Rushmore.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Which I also have the Criterion of.
Yeah. So yeah, to kind of just continue with the plot, what I was gonna say is Song Kang-ho's character is kind of basically the main character of the film, and he's basically, the best way to say it is he's a pretty bad detective. Let's be honest. He's really focused on like the wrong things. For a part of the film, he's really like he's got this whole idea of, we didn't find any hair in the crime scene, so the guy's probably hairless, like he doesn't have any pubic hair, and so he goes.
Yeah, he goes. Yeah, he goes to like a bathhouse and is like,
Yeah.
into like just looking at people's junk to figure out like who's the murderer. But
Yeah.
he's more what you would just call like kind of a dirty cop. Is he
Yeah.
that's kind of the institution of that police station. It seems is that like they get witnesses and then they just beat the hell out of him in the basement until they basically say like,
Yeah.
I did it. But other than being morally questionable as a cop, he doesn't have exactly great, like as you say, detective skills, because
Yeah.
he begins the film by saying he has like what people call shaman eyes, which is
Yeah.
which he says is he can look into like if he looks into the eyes of someone, he can immediately like figure out if they did the crime or not.
And so it's him, another detective whose name is Park. I'm gonna try to pronounce it correctly. Park Hyun-gyu. Who is basically his thing is he loves to drop kick people.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
It's so every time. Yeah,
he's like transferred in from Seoul, right?
No, that's the other guy.
Oh yeah, that's the other guy. But yeah, this detective, if you watch, no, I believe someone counted it's like maybe 6 times in this 2-hour long movie. He immediately enters a moment by drop kicking someone, and it's kind of incredible.
I think I've never seen a film with that much drop kicking.
No, never.
And I kind of love that.
Yeah.
And so that's basically his thing is he's the kind of detective who likes to beat people up. It's kind of like all he does in the entire film. And about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes into the film, there's another detective who arrives from Seoul who's really interested into the case and wants to, help out and wants to figure out who the killer is. And he's a much better cop than the other guys.
He's much more methodical. He goes by like, if documents say it, I believe he's quoted as saying like if it's in writing, it's correct.
He says like documents never lie. That I think that's
what documents never lie. That's his like motto throughout the film.
Pretty much.
But yeah, so this is based off of like as you said, like a serial murder in like the 80s of in South Korea. And we open the film with Song Kang-ho. That's his name, right?
That's the actor, right? Yeah,
that's the actor. I'm just gonna refer to him as that because I don't remember his cop name, his character name. But so Song is like investigating this like irrigation pit where he finds a dead body, and we soon learn that like this has been happening recently, where like dead women will be showing up in like fields, and so obviously that begins like their interrogation process, or like trying to find clues and stuff, and then the guy from Seoul comes, and that's pretty much the start.
And then so at one point in the film, Song Kang-ho is talking to his girlfriend, and she mentions how there's like this creepy kid who's always following girls, and so he immediately thinks of him as like a very important suspect, and he becomes basically the first suspect of the film.
Yeah, he immediately beelines towards that kid.
And so they keep him in the police center for like a couple, I assume a couple days, where they just interrogate him, and until he basically, I think they even say at some point that they rehearse him saying like how he's the murderer and how he did it and everything.
Yeah, they keep him down there for a while, and then they bring him out to the woods to try and force a confession out of him. and it's revealed that it was kind of rehearsed, but not really,
Yeah.
because he starts to say like, yeah, I did it, and like all, and like describes the entire like murder and stuff, and this will become important later, but he also says things that that the police didn't tell him about the murder, which not important now, but it will come back.
Right.
So he's once once the detective from Seoul comes in, basically the kid is like kind of cleared of it. Like it's just like we've held on to this kid for long enough. He definitely wasn't the guy who did it, because his hands. He has like
his hands, yeah.
He has like webbed hands, and every one of the girls was tied with tied and bound with really complicated knots. So there's no way it could have been him. So they just send him back home. Then they get to the second suspect that they find, which I think is he the one that they find in the woods?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yes. So Song Kang-ho and the other detective whose name is kind of escaping me right now. They go and just kind of like check out the area where the most recent murder at that time happened, which was just some random girl in the middle of a forest. They come in, they just kind of look around, but then they start to hear footsteps behind them, and it's the detective from Seoul. And both of them are kind of unaware that either of them are there, so they hide as they hear someone else approaching. It's just this random guy wearing red lace underwear, like with like frills, and he starts masturbating in the woods to the scene of the crime.
Yeah, so and he also brings like underwears, like he brings panties and a bra, which he puts on the floor and stuff, jerking off to that.
Yeah, so obviously they're just kind of like, oh, that might be him. So Song Kang-ho readjusts his foot and kind of crunches on some branches, which starts a big chase scene where they eventually catch up with the guy and interrogate him. And there's not really much that comes of that one. They just kind of they kind of figure out like, oh, he's just a weirdo. Like he's just a guy who wanted to go jerk off in the woods to a murder victim.
He's a guy who's got weird like what's the word for like when you're into something like sexually?
Fetish.
Fetish. Yeah, he's got weird fetishes.
Yeah, so they abandoned that one pretty quick. But then while they're at the police station, I do not remember her name, but it's another female detective. She brings up the fact that on every rainy night this was already established that every rainy night is when someone is murdered. She brings up that one of her favorite radio programs, on every rainy night, the same song is being played by someone who just goes by the name of like a lonely person. It's the same song that is played during that hour, which is when people are murdered. So, that starts. Obviously, at first she's brushed off, but the detective from Seoul is like, no, this might be something. So this is where we get to our third suspect.
And so the guy kind of matched all the descriptions that they had of the potential killer really well, and unlike the other guys, that one is a lot more. I don't know. I feel like he's less scared of the detectives.
Very much so. He's very much like all the rest of them. Like the first one was, he was just a kid, so he was like, he wasn't like terrified of the detectives, but he was just kind of.
Well, he
Yeah.
was scared of them, but he also like didn't really fully understand what was going on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He didn't really fully
Mm-hmm.
understand what he was being questioned for. And the
Yeah.
second guy was just scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so, you know, they so this guy is very like stoic. So immediately
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they kind of show interest in him. It's like that's probably the guy that did it because he fits everything. He lives
Mm-hmm.
in the area. He works near he works in a factory that's near the site of a lot of the murders.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy. He's definitely the guy who sent in all of those requests for that song on those
Yeah.
rainy nights. So he
And
fits
yeah.
everything that they have. But they take, so yeah, they take a DNA uh, sample from one of the crime scenes, and they take some of this guy's DNA and send it
Mm-hmm.
over to America since they don't have, the kind of forensics needed to
Yeah.
do that kind of work. And so, uh, immediately after that, I don't quite remember what the reason for it was. Oh yeah, so the detective from Seoul goes to like a high school where, they hear this rumor that
Mm-hmm.
like at this high school there's like I think they hear it from a kid, right? Isn't it like a
Right.
childhood like
It's one of the
playground rumor?
students. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they hear a rumor that like the person who murders all the kids is or all the girls is living in one of the school's bathrooms or something.
Yeah.
So he's just like that's probably not true, but I'm going to go anyway. So he goes and investigates, finds nothing, and meets a girl and walks her to the nurse's office where he puts a band-aid on her, and then kind of leaves. I wanted to highlight that scene because it becomes important later.
Yeah.
But I also just think it's a good scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Then after this, he ends up meeting another victim. I think they say it's another victim of the serial killer, but who survived.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, and so they interrogate her, kind of trying to find more clues of trying to find out who the guy is. Unfortunately, she was like she couldn't see him,
mm.
so this doesn't really help them that much. Well, it helps them a bit, but
Yeah. It helps them a bit with like certain things about the guy, but
mm-hmm.
doesn't help him really in the end. So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess this just brings us to the ending, right?
Right, I think so.
Uh, so okay, he goes to, so they get a report called in that there's, been another body found. Uh, the detective from Seoul decides to go investigate on his own, and discovers that the body is that of the girl that he helped at the nurse's office at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he basically decides to like forego everything that he knows. He goes to the suspect's house and like just immediately like beats him and takes him to these train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And is followed by Song Kang Ho. And they, he's basically beating the crap out of him. Song comes in with the reports, or the report from the United States about the DNA samples. Okay, so the detective from Seoul opens it up, and he realizes, and he reads it and finds out that it's not him.
No,
The
it's
DNA
no
results,
match.
they're not a match for suspect number 3,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of makes him lose his mind because that was all they had
Yeah.
in terms of a lead on the case. So he just kind of walks away from him to grab his gun. And in the meantime, Song Kang Ho is looking at him, trying to, for one last time, trying to use his shaman eyes on the guy to try and figure out if he did it.
Yeah.
And he also prevents the detective from shooting suspect number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So in that exact moment, we get my absolute favorite part of the movie, where Song Kang-ho was just looking into this dude's eyes for like a minute, and then he just says, "I don't know," and then he lets him go. And
Such a good scene.
Oh my god, it's. And then he lets him go, and that's where the account of the murders ends.
Yeah.
But then we're treated to, or do you want to take this part?
Yeah, I'd like to. So then we have the last scene of the film, which is a scene that I really like, and I'm going to go into more details later, because I have actually quite a few things to say about this particular scene. But so this is a scene that takes place in 2003 when the film came out. And so basically this shows Song Kang-ho, who's now a father of 2 kids, and he's not a detective anymore. He works in kind of like just, he sells things. I don't know exactly what his job is.
He's just a salesman.
Yeah. And so he's talking on the phone, driving to his job, I guess. And at some point, he goes through the field where we saw the first victim at the beginning of the film. And he asks the guy who's driving, can you stop for a minute? And he goes back to the crime scene, goes back to the exact same place where he found the first victim, and obviously there's nothing there, it's just empty. But then he meets a girl who asks him, why are you looking there? And I think he kind of says like, I don't know exactly what he says, but he says
he just kind of says, he's like, just I was, something was here a while ago, and I wanted to see it. And yeah.
And then the girl answers and says, well, that's weird, because there was another guy not too long ago who did the exact same thing. And I asked him, why are you looking there? And he said that he did something there a while ago, and he wanted to... no, he just said he did something a while ago. And then there's just this shot, the final shot of the film, of Song Kang-ho looking at the girl, and then looking into the camera, and then the film ends.
He says he's like, did you get a look at what he looked like? And she goes like, she was like, he just kind of looked plain, and he was like, how? And she just goes, just ordinary. And that's when he just goes silent and then looks straight into the camera. Yeah. And then the movie ends.
So, all right.
It's out of all the movies we've discussed so far on Movie Dudes, it's my favorite ending.
Oh yeah.
I don't quite know yet if it's my favorite of the ones we've discussed yet. But oh my god, it is such a the last 20 minutes is just masterful.
The last 20 minutes of this film are just like perfect. There's nothing to say. There's a lot of things to say, but there's nothing wrong to say about it. It's perfect. So, so I'd like to know, since this is the first time this happened in the podcast, where we're talking about a film that I had seen before, but you had not. So I want to know, what did you think about this film?
Well, I guess I'll just start out by saying I liked it. I liked it a lot. I can't say I was ever bored by it. But unlike the previous film I've seen from Bong Joon-Ho, Parasite, I wasn't like, hanging on every word. So I was kind of, and I think that worked a lot better for this movie almost, because it kind of immerses you in just this the same kind of limbo that the detectives are going through of like okay, this is the only lead we have, let's pursue it. Oh, there's something else that didn't work out, and it just keeps going and going in that loop. But yeah, and then like throughout the whole movie, I'm just thinking, I'm like, this is pretty all right. I'm having a good time, but I don't love it yet. And then the end happens,
Right.
and I'm immediately that last section, much like Parasite. I'm in. I'm sucked in for the first time in like kind of a while. Like I've seen a lot of movies just in the past few months, and for the last time in a while, this was the first one that just kind of had me sitting there like, what is happening? Like, where's this going? I want to know right now. And I was left completely in awe at the train track scene, at the final epilogue scene. So I liked the movie quite a bit, and now that I've had, I watched it maybe a few days ago by now, and I've had that time to just kind of sit on the movie. I love it a lot, and I'm really glad that I own it, and I'm glad that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, I don't know, if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd probably say it's a very solid 9 at the moment. I really, really liked this one.
Same thing for me. That's a 9.
But yeah, that was just my experience with it. I watched it, by the way. I can't exactly remember what I did the day before. I think I went to like one of my friend's parties or something, and I came back and I was like, oh, I should watch, because this is when I thought that we were going to be recording on a different day than we were. So I was like, oh, we're going to be I'm like, okay, we're going to be talking about this tomorrow. I need to watch it tonight. So I watched it. I started it at 1 o'clock and I ended it at like almost 4 a.m.
Right.
So it was a very late night movie, but I think that worked perfectly for it, because I don't know if you're the same way. This is off topic, but like I watch movies at night a lot better than I do during the day.
Dude, same.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's nice because what I do when I watch movies is usually I watch them at night, and I just shut down all the lights in my room, and I unfortunately have to watch all of my movies on my laptop, which is not the way I'd like to, but that's
right.
That's it. And so the only source of light that I have in my room is my laptop, and so it's the best way that I have to create some kind of like movie theater vibe.
Right. I don't know, my movie watching setup has never been like my movie watching setup has gone through a lot of change in the last few months, because when I lived in my apartment that I lived in during the first couple episodes of this podcast, I had like a couch and I had a TV setup. So I was like, this is just a pretty good movie watching setup.
Yeah.
But then during like a couple months, I was in the town where my mom lives, just kind of working a job down there. So I brought my PlayStation and some of my Blu-rays so I could watch them. And that's how I watched the Wong Kar-wai box set. And I had this like, I don't know how you describe it, but it's kind of like a big round chair, and I just had like a little TV on a desk, and that's how I watched them. It was just in a really dark room, just kind of like hunched over in a chair, just like But it was it was good. And now since obviously I moved, it's kind of in, I don't know, my movie watching setup's kind of in a weird spot, because because I have my TV and my entertainment center and stuff set up over there, and then I just have my bed. Like, I don't have a chair or anything to sit in, so for most of the movies I've watched while I've been here, I've just kind of been laying on my side, which is not exactly great movie watching position, but I'll figure something out better, especially now that
Uh,
I got my actual desk chair back. By the way,
there's yeah,
uh, I was going to mention this when the podcast started, but
yeah.
for anyone who has watched last week's episode, or episode 3, uh, I would like to apologize because I was for that episode I was using a wooden chair that I have that was being used in my dining room, and it's really rickety, and I didn't realize it until I was editing, but some of that creaky noise comes in through the recording, so it's not like end of the world, but it was kind of it was a little like, oh no, people are gonna notice that, but so it was like,
Right.
if that bothered you last episode, it won't happen again since I have an actual chair now. But that's all I had to say about that, really.
All right. But yeah, kind of just to close this tangent of like movie watching setup.
Yeah.
Like the day that I move into an apartment, I'm gonna try to set up my room so that I can have like a projector and just like a white screen to actually have some kind of like home theater.
Oh yeah, that'd be so cool. A friend of mine used to have a projector, and we would watch anime like that in high school, and it was just the coolest thing.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah. So kind of just get back into the film. Should we just go through our notes and talk about what we liked about the film?
Yeah. I kind of said most of what stuck out to me already. Like obviously there's the ending and Song Kang-ho's performance. But this is like kind of the issue with I don't know, with movies that I haven't seen before, is that I don't usually like to get distracted while I'm watching them.
Right.
So like I kept very minimal notes of like what I wanted to talk about, and that was basically it. So
Okay.
but I'm sure you have a lot more that can carry a good discussion.
Yeah, I have a couple things. First thing, that's one of the first thing. That's my second note, because I noticed that really early on, something that I had kind of forgotten about the first time that I watched the film, which is how that's a film about a guy who raped and murdered 10 women. That's a very serious topic. That's a big thing, and even with that, this film is very focused on comedy.
It has a lot of like comedic moments. Yeah.
You'd expect the film to be a lot more serious, but especially with Song Kang-ho's character, who's kind of a goofy guy a bit. He there's a lot of very pretty funny moments.
Yeah, it's pretty serious throughout. Like, okay, it's all things considered. Like, there's a few serious moments like throughout the first like I don't know hour and 40, I'd say. There's a lot of like serious moments just kind of interspliced throughout. But throughout most of that chunk of the movie, it's pretty like pretty light almost. Like there's some dark in there, but it's mainly just kind of lightly just kind of like it's funny. But then there's also the detective stuff, and then during the last 20 minutes is when it just takes the switch full into serious.
Well, what I think, like I think the reason why they did that is because as I said, it's a very serious topic. So maybe a film about that is very serious for 2 hours would be kind of like too much. It would be too heavy of a film.
Plus,
so I
considering like the audience that this movie was originally created for is like, Korea, in the last or during that period of time was kind of like shaken by by those serial murders, because unlike America or like other big countries where serial killings is kind of a lot. Like it's kind of like every couple of years we get a very like notable like serial killing.
Yeah, I mean, just the sheer amount of Netflix documentaries about
Oh
serial
yeah.
killers.
Like there's just it's so much here, but over there, like back then especially, it's like it was like that stuff never usually happened.
Well,
So
I'm pretty sure I read that it was the first like real serial killer in South Korea. Not only that, but it was in a region that had like no crimes,
yeah,
like a very crimeless place, who
so
suddenly
yeah,
had a very like dangerous serial killer.
yeah, which could also play into the idea of like why Song Kang Ho's character in the movie is like not that great of a detective, is because
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't really anything to
Right.
investigate for him.
Unlike
Uh,
the guy who's from Seoul,
yeah,
where it's a big city, so there's a lot more stuff going on.
which okay, I actually did have something in my just kind of in my headspace about the movie that I liked a lot. Uh, I love the crisscross with their character development because
Yeah.
Song Kang Ho starts out as just kind of a goofy, or he just starts out like he's like not very official at all. He's like, yeah, uh the whatever kind of proof there is, I'll go off based off what I feel. uh
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, obviously the detective from Seoul is like very grounded. He's very like like he said, document, or like the I don't remember what he said exactly. The documents are the truth.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the movie and during that last train track scene, we see how they've essentially flipped in
Mm-hmm.
characters, because the detective from Seoul is ready to shoot the suspect, even though they all know that he didn't, or that like he
Right.
probably didn't do it, and there's no way that
And
they're ever gonna know that he did it or not.
And I just realized how he's always like the documents are the truth, but then he sees the documents saying that the semen DNA don't match up, and even there he still doesn't believe it.
Yeah. Then there's a really good shot. It's like a very small detail that I loved, is when a train comes and splits up the detectives and the
Yeah.
suspect. The documents are left on the track and get shredded
Mm.
by
Yeah.
the train coming by, and that's so good. Like it's such a like obvious movie moment, but it's still so good. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my god, that's so fun. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
perfect. But yeah,
Um.
that was the other thing I had
Yeah.
forgot to mention, was just the I don't know, the sheer perfection of those two character arcs.
Yeah. There was something that I noticed about the film. I curious to rewatch some Bong Joon-Ho films to see if it's also the case in those films. There's a lot of very long and continuous shots
Oh yeah.
in this film. Well, for example, there's a shot that happens very early in the film. That's one of my favorite scenes in the entire film, which is when he finds the second victim. But unfortunately, there's just like a fuck ton of people everywhere who's just messing up with the crime scene. There's a tractor that goes over like
Over the footprint, yeah.
footprints and
It's like a 2 minute unbroken sequence of
mhm,
him telling all these people to like get out, like go, just clear the area until forensics gets here, just like leave. But they're all
yeah,
like bumbling over each other.
it's such a chaotic scene and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's what other scene also is amazingly chaotic in the same way is later in the film when they're trying to do a reconstitution of the
Mm.
murder with the first suspect, and then the suspect's dad comes there and says, "No, my son's innocent," and everything, and it just creates so much chaos with like the journalist asking, "Is that true? Is he not really the killer?" And there's like this slow motion shot, and I don't remember if it's actually slow motion, but this shot of like everyone just bumping into each other, and there's just this sea of scream and shouting, and that's just like you can't make out any single voice or any single kind of dialogue because it's just so chaotic.
Yeah.
And I was just watching that kind of like, holy shit, that's a lot. And I thought that was a really good scene.
Yeah, I really liked. This was something I saw mentioned in a YouTube video on Memories
Mm-hmm.
of Murder, and I don't quite remember who did it, but I remember it was
Was
about.
it by was it by Every Frame of Painting?
I don't know if I watched the Every Frame of Painting video on this. I might
Because
have.
they
Was it?
made one.
Yeah, I think I actually. Yeah, I think I did. I think it was that video because he mentions how obviously like a lot of movies are shot like pretty like thoroughly covered. Like you get like a bunch of shots of this one actor doing one thing or the one actor doing another thing, just to
Mm-hmm.
kind of build a scene that way. But a lot, if not all, of Memories of Murder is shot in a very like just kind of zoomed out point of view. It's very I believe it's called like ensemble framing
Yeah.
because during most of the scenes of like people talking, everybody who is in the scene is in the same frame, and it's framed like that throughout like the conversation, like only cutting sometimes. And like once I rewatched this movie, inevitably I want to take another look at some of those scenes because that's so impressive. How
Yeah.
all of that's like coordinated and choreographed. I loved it. Yeah.
So hold on, let me just look in my notes. Just a short thing that I noticed that I thought was really funny is, it's there's a point of the in the film that really made me laugh at the beginning when it's just a scene with two people talking, and then it just cuts to Song Kang Ho and his girlfriend having sex
Yeah.
with no transition whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, all right, that's what we're doing now. Okay.
That's exactly what I thought.
And it's also like the least sort of like
The least
romantic
like yeah,
sex scene.
the least sensual. It's like
I
all
think it's
it's so
at
like
some yeah.
it's so like compact, dark and grimy.
I think at some point Song Kang Ho says like, "Oh, I think it fell out," and that's just how the scene ends. It's like, "Oh, all right, sure."
Yeah. That's our introduction to his like apartment space.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's there is that scene.
Oh, something that I noticed that I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. I don't know if you noticed, but that's I think that's more something the kind of stuff that you noticed at a when you watch the film for a second time. It's how the film in general is very kind of like colorless. It's
Yes, it's
Yeah, there's not a
very
lot of colors except for two scenes, which is the very first scene and the very last scene.
yeah,
Both
you're right.
both scenes at the field. So I have a theory for that. And I kind of want to get your opinion on that. What do you think? So
Sure.
my theory is that the first scene happens right before. It's when they find the first victim. It's when they first get like oh, there's a killer in town, and so at that point they're kind of a bit more innocent, and at the last scene that's like it's like over 20 years later when he's kind of moved on. So those two scenes is when like the killer isn't really on his mind. So it's, I don't know, kind of like to show how I don't know if that makes sense. Or if I'm just
No, I
talking
think it.
nonsense, but
I think no. You definitely have a point there.
right.
It's like he gets like yeah, like the beginning of the film is very colorful, and then every scene
Mm-hmm.
after that until the end is just it's kind of dimmed and like grimy almost. Yeah, and like you said, that last scene is colorful as well in that exact same setting, which is just kind of like I think it does symbolize how I think it definitely could symbolize just how you know it's not, the case hasn't really been on his mind for a while, and he's everything, kind of feels back to, not back to normal, but back to a sense of like, I'm not like thinking about it anymore. So yeah, I think you do have a point with that.
Mm-hmm. But that was just something that I noticed. I was like, huh, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a very dark movie. Like it's
Yeah.
a lot of the scenes, it's very like subdued, and yeah, like not too flashy, which is good, but it also it creates that odd atmosphere, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at my notes, and the kind of like the last thing to talk about is, well, as I said earlier, I have a few things to say about the last scene of the film. So the first thing was what I just said about the colors, but then there's something else that's related to the actual killer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much you know about the actual killer.
I watched literally like an hour before we did this. I
Yeah.
watched a video that was like the from a YouTube channel, I believe it was Korea News or something, about
Sure.
like the differences between the real case and the movie. And it wasn't like, it didn't really go that far into it. It wasn't a really greatly put together or like differences video, but yeah, I don't really know much. I was going to I guess research is more on my own, but I knew we would definitely talk about it on the podcast.
Well, so, all right. The film obviously came out in 2003, and I don't know, kind of like as they say in the film, by 2003, the killer had not been caught yet.
Mm-hmm.
He was still loose. So, there's a something that's amazing that I found in an old interview with Bong Joon-Ho they made a few years ago. Where he basically talked about that last scene and said how the last shot of the film, when Song Kang-ho is looking at the camera, he's not just looking at the camera, he's looking at the killer who probably went to see the film about his crimes in theaters.
Yeah, I saw that interview too. It's so...
Yeah.
Oh,
It's... When I first saw that, I was like, what?
that makes that last scene just so chilling. It's like, oh.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. And so I also read for this episode, I did something that I'd never done before, which is that I read the essay that comes with the criterion of the film.
I was thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, for the episodes in the future, whenever we get to a Criterion one,
We should do that.
I'm going to watch like the supplements and stuff and discuss that too.
There's I wanted to watch because I'm pretty sure there's a documentary.
There is. It's like
yeah.
the documentary on the making of the film, and the other notable thing is there's a 1994 student film from Bong.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool set, which unlike most single film Criterions, this one comes with 2 discs.
Yep.
Instead of 1. Which I've only ever seen in my copies of The Irishman and Seven Samurai, which are, obviously both stupid long movies.
Well, also Parasite has
oh yeah, that's right. Parasite has 2 discs.
Yep.
I'm looking over my shelf to see if I'm correct about that. Is that those 3 are the only ones? Because the only ones that I have.
Yeah.
I think Do the Right Thing, I think has 2 discs.
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
And well, there's also in the bonuses. There's also a I haven't seen that yet, but I have to. It's an interview with Bong Joon-Ho that's specifically about the actual killer.
I haven't seen that. What?
Yeah, it's hold on, let me read the
Oh,
exact thing. Um,
oh, that's
new
right. I gotta
new
watch that.
interview with Bong about the real life serial killer who inspired the film.
We'll have to like, obviously, or like honestly, I might just like watch them anyway and just bring it up some other time. like
Maybe,
like
yeah,
in a future episode, we could do like, I don't know, catch up with that,
yeah.
or just like some extra stuff with Memories of Murder that we want to discuss
Mm-hmm.
if we find it interesting enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Um. So, yeah. So it's about the essay. It's a pretty long essay. There's quite a lot of stuff in it. What I'll say though, like, I I'm no one to criticize someone's essay, but I feel like for an essay that was specifically about memories of murder, he goes a lot like kind of off topic, and I feel like too much of the essay is based on Parasite instead of Memories of
Really?
Murder. Yeah,
No.
because there's a lot of stuff that's like about the impact that Parasite had winning the Oscars and all. And like literally the last page isn't even about Memories of Murder. It's about a comment that Donald Trump made about how like he thought it was stupid that a Korean film won the Academy Awards. So
When
yeah,
okay, when did the Criterion edition of Parasite come out? Did that come out after the Oscar win?
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So like, I haven't read the essay for that one yet.
Yeah,
Uh, but like I'm assuming that it's got to talk about the Oscar win, right? Because
right. But I mean,
that's a pretty
yeah.
monumental part about Parasite. But like,
Well, yeah, but the thing is that they both have different authors for the
yeah,
essays.
I guess that's true. But at the same time, I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're. I think you're correct in just
Yeah.
like pointing this out. But like, if you're writing an essay based on or for memories of murder, like
Mm-hmm.
you can talk about the impact that the director's had now,
Mm-hmm.
but like keep it as a footnote. Like
Right.
don't, I don't know, just
Of
kind of like
course.
say like there like this happened too, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of that doesn't sit right with me, I guess.
No, yeah.
Which
That was kind
because like
of the yeah.
it's worthy of discussion for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but like in an edition of Memories of Murder, I don't know.
Yeah, that was kind of disappointing when I read that. But there's still a few things. The main thing basically that I thought was really interesting is that apparently, what I found out is that in real life they didn't really they didn't find the killer. Well, hold on. Do you know about the current situation with the killer?
Didn't he admit to all of it? Didn't
Well,
he
so all
like
right, I'm gonna
confess in
explain it because that's
2019?
right. Well, that's something that I found out when reading that is how in 2019, so very recently,
Yes.
um, the the guy, the actual killer, uh, they did a new DNA test, I think, with better technology and everything, and they found out who the killer was, and it apparently was a guy who had been already sent to prison, like in the 90s, for other crimes that he'd done,
Mm.
and he admitted to have done those crimes, but also, and I think that's the actual number, but I'm not quite sure. I think he said he admitted to 30 other rapes.
Oh my god.
So a crazy fucking guy. And but before that happened, I think that was back in the 80s or maybe in the 90s, they found a guy who they thought was the killer only for one of the victims, and I think he was the actual killer for that one. I'm or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was actually innocent. I'm not quite sure, but I think he was the killer.
Yeah,
And that guy,
like a copycat killer almost.
yeah, and that guy is the guy who inspired the first suspect in the film. Like he's basically based on that guy.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, besides that, honestly, I didn't find a lot of stuff. There was a bunch of stuff that was pretty interesting, but not a lot of stuff that was really like, oh, I got to talk about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw how like the thing with the Band-Aid is apparently a reference to Lolita by Stanley Kubrick, but I
Really?
haven't seen it, so
I haven't
can't.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen Lolita either. It's on
yeah.
my watch list.
Hmm. Uh, but yeah. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the film.
That's about all I have to say as well. Yeah, I really, like I said earlier, I really liked it, and
Hmm.
just excited to see more of Bong's work in the future.
Yeah. Um. So I'd like to talk about kind of like this kind of stay topic of Memories of Murder. I thought it would be interesting to talk about the genre of murder and mystery, kind of like
Okay, okay.
films and TV shows of people trying to figure out who the killer is. Because I think I've seen quite a lot of those, especially in the recent like year and a half, and I think that's a really interesting sort of genre.
It
So I
really
don't
is,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, how much of that have you seen, or like, do
Um,
you have any specific film or TV show that you think of that you would like to talk about?
you're gonna have to give me a sec to kind of recall some because it has been
Right. Well,
quite a
so
while since I've seen like a good murder mystery
right.
before this.
Well, there's in terms of specifically maybe in terms of tone and kind of that kind of stuff. There's a couple parts in the film that reminded me of. I don't know if you've seen this show, this British show that's called Broadchurch.
Never.
All right. Um, well, so that's a show that I discovered recently because this year I got way into Doctor Who,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of Doctor Who actors who were in Broadchurch, so I thought, uh, I should watch it, and it was on Netflix, so I did that, and it's basically it's on a smaller scale than Memories of Murder. It's a guy. It's there's only one victim, and it's a 10-year-old boy, and it's basically David Tennant and Olivia Colman trying to find the killer, and so yeah, that's kind of just like a recommendation that I want to put out. Anyone who's curious about that, that's a really good show. It's well, first of all, kind of like Memories of Murder. It's a pretty somehow a pretty funny show,
Mm-hmm.
because Olivia Colman and David Tennant are the two main detectives, and Olivia Colman is kind of like she's very optimistic and she's very kind of like joyful, and she's basically, if I were to compare it to Memories of Murder, she's kind of like Song Kang Ho, even though she's a good detective.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also got David Tennant, who's from this other town, who he's very negative, and it's very, his character is very funny in a way that like he's the kind of person who hates everything. And so you got those two very different personalities mixing up, and it's, I think it's pretty funny, but in general it's also a very well written show, and yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah. Oh, that's alright. I don't know why I blanked on this, but uh, I think like the best murder mystery movie I've seen in the past few years, at least, is Knives Out.
Same.
Yeah, which is much more comedic in tone than Memories of Murder for
Yeah, I'd say you can
sure.
consider that a comedy, and
Yeah,
it's unlike Memories of Murder in terms of like murder and mystery. It's a lot more. It's obviously very inspired by like Agatha Christie and that kind of stuff,
yeah.
which I
It's much.
really like.
It's much more like a who done it type of murder
Yeah,
mystery.
yeah, which is great.
Which I love. I loved that movie. Um, but like I haven't seen it, but another murder mystery show I know of is Twin Peaks.
Oh,
which
yeah,
I'm
same. I gotta
still,
watch that.
yeah, I'm still. My roommate watched it years ago and loved it, but I gotta get into it because I really, because it's it's David Lynch. I'd like to
Yeah,
watch all of Lynch's stuff, but I'd also like to watch Twin Peaks because it's a legendary show at this point.
yeah. And also I think like the recent season from like 2017 has like one of the highest ratings on all of Letterboxd.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's on like 4.6 out of 5.
hmm
There's also, have you seen? I'm just realizing that David Fincher has made two great mystery films,
Yes,
which are Seven and Zodiac.
I have
So
seen
have
neither.
neither? Oh, fantastic! Well, that's gonna
They're
be two films that I recommend that you watch.
Of course, they're most movies that I don't know that are considered the greats are in my massive watch list. So,
Oh, I've got a bunch of those as well. A bunch of very famous and acclaimed films that I haven't
yeah.
seen yet.
Which I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast, but my watch list was started because, obviously I go to film school,
Right.
but after a couple months, mainly it was like every week at this point. Whenever I would meet someone new, they would ask me if I'd seen Taxi Driver or not. And I'd have to go no, I haven't seen it, but I'll get around to it someday. And then one day,
Right.
someone was like, "Oh, you haven't seen Taxi Driver? You gotta see it." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." I was like, I will make a watch list with every movie that someone tells me to watch.
Right.
And eventually that evolved into, instead of movies that people told me to watch, it was just movies that I wanted to watch.
Right.
And so now it's around 550, I think it was last time I checked.
Oof.
Yeah, which I'm almost
Yeah.
I'm almost 50 movies in to the complete watch list. I only
Yeah.
have a few left, and this was number 46 of the watch list.
All right. Well, what I have is instead of a watch list, I've got two lists on Letterboxd, which are the first list is I think there's a book that came out that's like 1,001 movies that you have to watch before you die.
Yeah.
And someone took all the films from that list and put it in a Letterboxd list. And so basically I cloned that list, and I'm slowly going through all the films that I've seen. And the other
Yeah, I'll probably break into that list once my watch list is completed
Right.
at some point. I don't know.
And the other list is that's pretty cool. Is I think that was a few months ago. That was like more early on into the pandemic. Edgar Wright did a list of his 1,000 favorite movies.
Really?
Yeah, and so again, someone made it into a Letterboxd list. I cloned it, and I have watched 800. No, I have watched. Hold on. No, there's.
You got me for a second there. I was like,
no. There's 887 films that I have not seen yet.
oh, okay.
I got to reverse math, but that's like fucking 113.
I'm gonna look that up and see which ones I've seen out of his list, or
Yeah.
how much I've seen of his list. Hold up.
Yeah, because like that's, I recently I've seen a bunch of Edgar Wright interviews. That guy has watched like a billion films.
Oh, for sure.
It's like him and Quentin Tarantino, like those two guys who I've seen. They've seen so many films. It's actually insane.
I've seen 9% of his list, so almost
Yeah.
almost 100.
Right. But that's Edgar Wright and Quentin Tarantino. That's never gonna happen. But they would be like the best guests to have on the podcast.
Oh my god, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Have you ever thought about what guests you would want on the show?
Oh, I have. Yeah.
Because I only have one that I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who this is, but they're pretty loved on the Criterion subreddit.
Yeah, I think I know.
His name is Daisuke Beppu.
Yes, I love Daisuke Beppu.
I would adore having him on the podcast.
Dude, yeah,
that would be so much fun.
Well, so what I thought is like we should probably if we're gonna have guests on the podcast, we should probably wait until I'd say around episode 10, because I'd say if we go to 10 episode, that's when we're like, okay, the podcast is a thing, we're doing it, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, no, we should definitely ask him, because like
that one could feasibly happen.
Say yes.
That one could actually happen. That'd be so much fun, though.
Yeah, man, that would be great. That would be a great conversation.
Oh yeah.
There's another guy who his name is Elliot Cohen. He's got a YouTube channel that's called Boutique Blu-rays with Elliot Cohen.
Oh, I think I've heard that. I think I've heard that name.
He makes a bunch of videos about Criterion, but also a bunch of other stuff. And that's another guy who I think that would make a great guest.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, besides that, I mean, we can always try other YouTubers who have more subscribers, but at least try. But that's probably not gonna happen.
It would be pretty insane. There's a lot of
There's
a lot of movie YouTubers I've watched throughout my life that would be kind of surreal to talk to.
Yeah, there's do you know the YouTube channel that's called the Royal Ocean Film Society?
Yes, I've heard that name.
That guy, it's this guy who makes these amazing analysis on movies, and honestly, I think that's probably my favorite channel about movies. Just in terms of like not only his writing but also his kind of like the way that he makes videos, the kind of like effects that he makes and everything is he makes videos that are very fun to watch.
Yeah.
And that's another guy who I'd love to see as a guest.
I just thought of like maybe the best guest we could ever get.
Yeah.
What if we had Doug Walker on the show?
Oh my god.
Wouldn't that just be something?
Oh my god. We gotta make an episode with Doug Walker about The Wall.
Oh! Okay, so until we know that like okay, let's make a promise right here, never to talk about The Wall until we know Doug Walker has said no to coming on the show. Like,
right. Well, all right, here's the thing, though.
Because we have to save that for Doug Walker.
Well, so the thing is, there's, this video got so much hate.
I mean, yeah.
The like to dislike ratio is horrible. So I'm pretty sure that he's not gonna want to talk about The Wall again.
He has a good sense of humor about himself.
Yeah, he does, though.
But like, see, that's the thing. I don't know, cause like, with Nostalgia Critic, obviously that's who we're talking about. If no one knows who Doug Walker is,
yeah.
But with him, I can defend most of the videos he's done. The Wall video is the one I can't. Like I've watched that and I'm like, yeah, that's just a bad review. It's a bad take. But
I still haven't seen it.
It's something all right.
Yeah.
But I listen. I love Doug. I don't know if he'll ever hear these words, but if he ever wants to come on the show, not even to talk about The Wall, just
in general,
anything he wants to.
Choose a film.
I will give it my blessing. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I heard that he said that his favorite film is Brazil by Terry Gilliam.
I'd be fine with that.
If he wants to talk about that, I'm fucking down.
Of course.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
But if we're talking about Doug Walker, you know who would be another great guest?
Who?
The AVGN.
Oh my god, that would be great.
Because, like, he talks about video games on his channel, but he's a massive like cinephile, and he went to school to pursue filmmaking and everything. So
Oh yeah.
you know,
No, I would love to talk
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah.
I just remembered. What if
Mm-hmm.
what if we got Doug Walker on the show to discuss the Channel Awesome movies like Kick-Assia, Suburban Nights, To Boldly Flee? Wouldn't that be something?
Dude, that would be the best episode.
Oh my god, that would be like real talk though. I know I'm laughing really
Yeah.
hard right now, but that would be childhood dreams come true.
Yeah.
That'd be so
Absolutely.
awesome. That'd be so good. Oh god.
Another guest that would be amazing, not in terms of like, oh, that would be fucking funny, but it would be legendary.
Yeah.
The guy who made every frame of painting.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
Because like the guy
Has anyone heard from him? Like I was about to say.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because he basically stopped making videos like 4 years ago.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, and I don't think everyone's heard of him since then.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Wouldn't
That
it be
would
fun?
it'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
You know who else I'd love to have on the podcast? Your Movie Sucks.
Oh yes.
He would
That would be funny.
He would be great. Ralph the Movie Maker would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I Hate Everything would be great. Just the whole Sardonicast crew, definitely. But that's I mean, if we're talking dream guests like that,
Yes.
that the whole list of people we just said would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I had this is like going off topic, so
Sure.
a pretty good way to just kind of split off topics right here. But I had an interesting movie revisiting experience this past week.
Oh.
So back in June, my girlfriend was like, "Hey, do you want to watch the Fred trilogy with me?" And I was like, "I haven't seen that since I was a kid. Is that even on anything?" And I checked. No, it's not. It's the Fred trilogy is no longer on anything. So I did the only thing in my power I could do. I bought the DVDs. And
oh my god.
This past weekend, we watched all 3 of them in one night, only stopping once so I could go get our food that was just delivered.
Are you okay?
No. Or after the third, she can attest to
Yes.
this. Like if for some reason we ever have like people we know on the show, she can attest to this.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah.
Why not?
But why not? But yeah, no, she can attest to the fact that during Camp Fred, I may have wanted to die. Because I was... Have you ever seen any of those movies?
I have.
Oh, yes. So I watched all of them when they came out when I was a kid. Like every premiere night, I watched every one of them.
Dude, can I... Side thing, I remember that I bought those films on iTunes.
Did you really?
I felt like that was an important thing to say. It's just something that I remember. I bought those films on iTunes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, go on.
So, I don't remember how... Okay, I don't know how much you remember those movies, but I
remember about John Cena, and that's pretty much it.
Other than that, my memory was pretty, nothing. So... I guess I'll go at film by film. Fred the movie.
Wait, hold on. Are you sure you want to talk about those now? Or you want to wait for an episode specifically about those films?
I'll mention it really quickly.
No, hold on. I just want to point out that was a joke. I don't want to talk about those films in an episode.
Okay, we won't talk about him. You sounded pretty serious though. I was almost.
Yeah, no, I was trying to make it sarcastic, but it didn't really come out well.
Oh, that's really good though.
But yeah.
So yeah, okay. Fred the movie is not good. That's the one that's the one where he stalks a girl and then is like, you know what? She's moving away. I want to go find out where she lives now. So he goes on like a whole movie-long trek to her house and then throws up on her, and then has a really weird party like by himself with like the goth girl down the street.
Right.
And then he's popular. And it's just not good, but it's also not like abysmal. Like you could watch Fred the movie and go like, you know what, this is whatever. It's like it's like a 3 out of 10, I think.
That much?
I would say so. Yeah, it's not the worst thing I've seen. It's not egregiously bad, but so Fred 2, Night of the Living Fred, it's still not good, but it's probably the best one out of the trilogy.
I'm sorry, the title. What's the title?
Fred? It's Night of the Living Fred. You okay?
I don't know.
So yeah, I'm going to explain this in the best way I can.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Fred follows Fred and his new music teacher, who he's convinced is a vampire. So
okay.
He like almost he pretty much ruins this man's reputation. And like he goes so far as to like shoot garlic sauce at him through a water gun at a concert. This is real. Like at a piano recital, he shoots garlic sauce at him through a super soaker. And then his teacher's like, all right, whatever, you can come over to my house and we'll bury the hatchet. Like, we'll break this kind of like awful relationship stigma that we've had. So he goes over to the house and is like live streaming the whole thing on his phone, and it cuts off at a certain point. So everybody who's watching the live stream which is basically everyone at his high school, is like, oh my god, it's definitely a vampire. But then obviously Fred learns that he's just some dude with like really weird habits. So it's a movie about, he like fixes it in the end obviously, but it's really funny because it's a movie about this weird kid who everybody sees as weird, and then he convinces everyone that a vampire exists.
Right.
It's not good, but it's also not terrible. Like, I'd say 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
I would say so. It's far from the worst thing I've seen in the past few months. Okay. So I can't say it's bad, or I can say it's bad. It's just not. It's not that bad.
Right.
But
it's not abysmal.
Yeah. But
Camp Fred.
Fred 3 Camp Fred is maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
It is. So what makes that one specifically worse than the other one?
Okay, so Fred wants to go to camp, but his mom puts him into a low-budget camp called Camp I Wanna Pee-Pee, which makes Fred go into he like goes into like a, I don't know, kind of like a manic state, and he's basically just kind of sent to the place on a bus, and then they do nothing for like 30 minutes of the movie. They just do camp shenanigans, like campfire stories, and like, there's a lot of jokes about camp food, like gruel. Basically, for most of the movie, Fred is suspicious that this place is like, I don't know, like just doing weird stuff. It's not, and it's really obvious that it's not, and then he learns that, and then the last half of the movie is spent on this nonsense camp, what's the word? Tournament between like them and another camp that they've always lost, and then they win the tournament. And it's it might be the most nothing movie to exist.
I mean,
I actually can't think of a single thing that makes the experience worthwhile.
well, all right. Can I be honest? I feel like a film that's a nothing film is so much worse than a film that's like a bad
I know.
film.
I know.
That's like the worst thing that a film can be is a nothing film.
Yeah, it's like I can't find a reason for you to exist.
Right.
But it's not like I don't with most like bad movies that I can't find a reason to exist for. I'm usually like I usually hold some kind of like I don't know, some kind of vitriol in my heart against it. I don't have that against Camp Fred. It's just bad. Like it's just
Right.
really bad. Like it's one of those bad movies that you just shouldn't watch. It makes sense why it exists, but you shouldn't watch it. It's like a 1 out of 10. It's bad.
Well,
Have I
all right.
actually have I ever talked about the worst movie that I've ever seen? Have I ever mentioned this to you?
No, but I think I thought about that like 2 minutes ago. I think that would be a good conversation for the podcast. So
Oh
please
yeah.
go on,
So
because I've got a good an interesting one for sure. I think.
oh yeah, so this is like a good yeah, this is definitely something I was going to talk about at some point. I just didn't know
Right.
when.
Same.
So, okay. For I would say since from 2016 to the pandemic, I would see as many movies in the theater as I possibly could.
Okay.
And in 2019, or no, 2018, this was even more so because I had Movie Pass before that went under.
Oh, all right.
So I would see like maybe 2 movies a week or something crazy like that.
Nice.
But one week, my friend and I decided to go see a little movie called Slender Man. Which was a it was an adaptation, or not an adaptation. It was inspired by the creepypasta or just the internet legends of the same name. Which
Yeah.
being a 2000s kid who spent most of his time on YouTube, I knew quite a bit about the creepypasta world. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this will be interesting. It's really weird that this movie's coming out now.
Yeah, it is, huh?
But
I didn't think about that.
I was like, okay, fine, I'll go see it. We sat through the entire thing, and it's the worst movie I've ever seen. I don't think there's any. I watched it again recently because I bought it for like $5 on Blu-ray, so I have the movie.
Sure.
I watched it again a few months ago with some friends of mine, and it just reinforced just how this movie has absolutely no redeeming qualities, and it does nothing right. Eventually, someday, I wanna break down the movie like into everything it does wrong, which is pretty much everything throughout the hour and a half runtime. But it's baffling. Like if you ever watch Slender Man, it is like I can't even. I'm usually pretty good about articulating what I think about movies, but
Right.
Slender Man is just speechless to me. It is a new world of absolutely abysmal, because it's the only movie, and it's movies like these that I use as a benchmark for how I think about every other movie I watch.
Right. Okay.
Because Slender Man is the only movie out of the entire time of my life that I've been like rating movies out of 10 that is a 0 out of 10. Like
Right.
every other movie I've seen, I watch it and I go, man, that was pretty bad. But is it as bad as Slender Man? No. Like I have seen so many bad movies that have made me go, like since I saw that movie, there's been so many movies I've seen where I'm like, yeah, okay, that was pretty awful. It was pretty unredeemable. But is it Slender Man? No. So, so yeah, Slender Man is the worst movie I've ever seen, and I had the pleasure of seeing it in theaters when it was
Nice.
out because it's oh yeah that's
Everyone should watch their least favorite movies in theaters.
yeah, if you have the chance, absolutely. But like,
I'm never gonna have the chance.
okay, so what? Okay, yeah, what is your worst movie?
All right, mine's a bit interesting because it's a film. I don't know. To some extent, I don't know your entire knowledge of movies, and I don't know everything that you know. But I know for a fact that you've never heard of this film.
Okay.
It's a film that I discovered, that I first heard of in a class that I had last year. It's a French documentary from 1973 that is called The Society of the Spectacle.
No, never heard of it.
All right, that's what I thought. So basically, I gotta do kind of like an introduction about the guy who made the film, who is a French filmmaker, but mostly French philosopher named Guy Debord. Who this guy basically he made this whole theory. So Society of the Spectacle is kind of like a documentary adaptation of a book that he made with the same name, and he made this whole theory of spectacle, which is in his definition of that word is it's something that the society has created to kind of like blind itself from the world's issues, which is entirely wrong. Like, that's his opinion. I respect that. He's wrong. And so basically he says kind of how like spectacle includes theater, movies, and that was back in the 70s, but if he was alive today he would definitely include TV and video games.
Yeah.
But in basically all those entertainment things, basically entertainment in general, he thought that it was a horrible, useless thing that was only there to blind people from like the actual thing that are bad things that are going on in the world.
Right.
I say that, you might think to yourself, why the fuck was this guy a filmmaker? And to that, I unfortunately do not have an answer. That is a great mystery. But so, this makes that the Society of the Spectacle is a film that's made to be horrible. And that's why I say that I hate that this film in particular is my least favorite film. Because when I say that, I feel like I'm feeding the troll.
Right.
That's how I feel. But so,
because like that's what he meant for it to be.
yeah.
So okay,
It's like,
let me ask this:
yeah.
is this like a well-liked movie? Like in general, do people like this movie?
It's more that it's people kind of like analyzing his his opinion and saying like, oh, his opinion is interesting and that kind of stuff, and I don't know, that kind of stuff. But it's my least favorite film of all time, but it still has a 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Right. Is it more like a, I don't know, from the way it sounds to me, just kind of on the outside, this movie seems very much like a just a bitter man talking about just like
it's
how much he hates the thing that's something that's like
basically
influential at that time.
Honestly, a good way to review this film, if I were to talk to Guy Debord in real life and talk to him, I'd say, okay, boomer.
Is it just that?
That's honestly almost an okay boomer film.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But so, all right, basically the way this film, I think it's available on YouTube with subtitles. So I don't recommend you to watch this film, because please don't. But at least watch, like, kind of just go through the video a bit and just kind of see what it's like. But so the way it's made is it's just him talking with very difficult words and very like words that no one use, with a very monotonal voice and a very boring voice on purpose, kind of like this. He basically talks about just a bunch of random thing. I think it's related to the society aspect, but honestly, if it wasn't, I wouldn't even be surprised. And it's that with just a bunch of random footage of just people walking on the street and that kind of stuff, and also a bunch of naked women.
What?
Because that's another thing that I heard, is that this guy was extremely sexist. So that's another reason not to like him. But and so whenever there's footage of a woman in the film, it's always done in a way that's like she's either naked or very like lightly dressed.
Oh, that sucks. What?
Yeah. No, that's weird, huh?
That's pretty weird.
That's fucked up.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So okay, this is like, so obviously you found out about this movie from film class, right?
Yes.
So, have you ever heard the story of D.W. Griffith? Because
I know that name. Because
it might be the funniest, like, just to me the unintentionally funniest story about like a filmmaker's legacy that I've ever heard.
Right. Well, I know about the Birth of a Nation. And It's like a film that I really have no intention to ever watch in my life.
Yes.
But yeah, so
here's some history class over here.
Yes.
So basically D.W. Griffith makes this movie called, this like way back in, hold on, let me double check the year. 1915. So like really early into filmmaking. He makes this massive film called Birth of a Nation, which is really influential and like changed cinema's landscape as anybody knew it. Only issue with Birth of a Nation is that it's really racist. And
it's incredibly racist.
And it paints, it basically, I've never seen the film, so I can't say this for exact.
Same.
But from what I know, it basically kind of paints the Ku Klux Klan as the good guys, which, it's just not it's not a good look.
So I watched the first scene of the film in a class.
Oh, really?
And basically,
I didn't even go that far.
Yeah, and I think I saw it was like the first. I think it was the first scene of the film, and we talked a bit about it, and it's really fucked up because basically the scene is, it's the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, but the way it's shown is the assassination is not the bad thing. The bad thing is that after that they kill the assassin, and the fact that this guy died is a bad thing, because that guy was a good guy. He was the racist guy, so he was good.
Oh God! Wait, really? They
basically that was it, dude. And also,
okay.
Have you seen? Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Just to finish off, why I think the story of Griffith is funny.
Yeah.
Is because after Birth of a Nation, everyone was like, "Oh, you racist! Like this is so awful." He's like, oh, I'm not racist, so he makes a movie called Intolerance. And everybody hates it. Everybody hates Intolerance. And so he's like, all right, you guys suck. So he makes a movie called Broken Blossoms, which can also go by the title of The Girl and the Yellow Man, where where the film basically follows like a girl and a white guy doing a awful Chinese impression and like character. God. It's the most racist thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the pictures. It's horrible.
So bad. It's literally the real life version of that meme where it's like Goku and he's like I'm about to get racist, and he's like, it's okay guys, I'm no longer racist. Just kidding, I'm even more racist now. It's so awful.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's the story of D.W. Griffith.
that film reminds me of something. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, this year I got way into Doctor Who,
Yeah.
and so I don't know if you knew, but Doctor Who was like, there's two different shows. There's one that's like that started in 2005 and that's still going on right now. But there's another one which is basically like the first part, I guess, which started in 1963 until 1989.
Yeah.
And in this show, I haven't seen the episode because it's kind of hard to find, and some of it really didn't age well. But
Right.
I saw a bunch of videos talking about that. There's an episode from the 70s with an episode with Tom Baker as the Doctor, who is the face that everyone knows, which is the guy with the scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go to a planet which is largely inspired by China, and there's a lot of it feels like you're basically like you're in China,
Yeah.
and everyone in this planet is played by Chinese actors,
Okay.
except for the main guy in the planet, the
no.
who's the bad guy, who is for some reason played by a white guy with like this weird prosthetic mask to make him look like an Asian guy.
No.
It's terrible. It's
That's awful.
Hold on.
Oh my god.
all right. I wrote Doctor Who Asian to find a picture, and there's just a bunch of Asian doctors. That's not what I was looking for.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's I'm gonna put a picture in the Discord so you can take a look at it.
Okay.
It's
By the way,
All right,
I want to say, like, I want to preface this, like,
yeah.
the reason I'm laughing so hard at all this,
It's because
as
it's so
at all this
fucked up.
as all this blatant racism is because I think it's so absurd that this was ever a thing. Like like obviously I don't even think we have to state that we are big fans of international film and like international actors.
It's there.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god! That's the
And
worst.
there's even a quote
Oh.
from the Doctor, which I'm gonna try to find. It's
Oh.
the name of the episode is the Talents of Wing Chang.
Oh.
It's generally considered as one of the worst Doctor Who episodes for some weird reason.
I can't imagine why. I implore everyone who's listening to this right now to look up what this looks like, because it is.
Well, I'm gonna put.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
put
Oh,
a
you're gonna
picture.
put it in the episode. Okay.
Yeah.
This is.
Don't worry.
This is so awful.
It's bad.
That's.
And Tom Baker, who played the Doctor, has come out and said, like, he's apologized, saying like, all right, I'm so sorry.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just. I don't know. We could. Obviously, there's a lot to be said about. I don't know, like. The history that film shares with awful characters of races. And I, just through growing up, I've realized that I am not the person to talk about that. So,
Oh, same.
yeah, like if you, if you can't like, I don't know, if you can't stand like those kind of portrayals, then obviously that's okay. It's like, it's all based on to what like you personally can stomach about the past, because it's like,
Right.
I don't know, the reason I laugh about it obviously is because I find it absurd and kind of comical on how awful this is. But obviously
But
I'm not the person to talk about it like in a serious way, because I don't know anything about what what it's like to be in those groups. So,
but what I'm gonna say is, obviously, we're not the right person to talk about racism.
Of course not.
As white privileged man, we're not the people to talk about that. But if you're hearing us talk about those incredibly racist movies, and you don't see what's wrong, you're kind of what's wrong in the world right now.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's okay.
You should probably.
It's probably
check this out.
Yeah, like I have not. It's been a while actually. Like, and this, I guess this could be saying something good for like the world around us. It's been a while since I've met somebody that, like, when faced with something like this, that they're just like, oh, I don't see anything wrong. It's been many years,
right?
So I guess that's good. Maybe
I mean, in person, because if we're talking about just anyone,
if we're talking about online, I see that every day.
It's so easy. Every day. There's so many racist people online.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's
horrible. The internet can be a horrible place sometimes.
Yeah, it's just, oh God.
I mean, have you been to Twitter?
Oh, of course.
That place is awful.
It's the worst. It's the worst place on the internet, and yet I'm still on it.
That's the main issue. Yeah.
That's what we got, I guess. But yeah, that's
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the internet can be a great place.
Oh yeah, there's
a lot of amazing stuff that's coming from the internet. A lot of times though,
I owe pretty much everything about, like, what I'm doing as a life, like, goal right now to, like, the internet. Like, if I never discovered, like, YouTube and saw people doing all of this themselves, I would have never gotten into filmmaking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah, me too. And also, if it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't have met, and we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Yeah, this wouldn't be a thing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the internet can be
it can be pretty. It can be pretty terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know if you follow those accounts on Twitter. They'll like, suspect tweets and crime tweets.
Yes,
which are just people. Basically, people. Sometimes it's basically people admitting to crimes on Twitter.
Yeah, I've seen some of those.
Like, it's just someone who says, "Oh, I killed my mother," in a way that is clearly not sarcastic. Just them straight up admitting, "Oh yeah, I killed my mother."
Yeah,
and
I think I saw that one.
Yeah,
the one that shocked me the most, that, like, caught me off guard, was there was one person who casually mentioned the fact that they killed a dog or something, and someone just replied to the tweet like, "Hey, what? Can you say that again?" It's like, oh yeah, no, Twitter. No. Obviously, we won't stay on for too long, but Twitter's awful.
No,
that's really all we got to say about that. But I guess if you're wanting some less racist oriented film history,
I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my other favorite piece of film history.
Go ahead.
Where there was a man, I don't quite remember his name, but he kind of pioneered. He was like, so you know how there's, like, the step in, like, an evolution line where it's, like, not quite the finished product, but it's also not quite the beginning. Mm-hmm. This man was the middle of that for regular cameras and video cameras. So he accidentally pioneered the idea of a video camera because he decided he was watching birds, and he was like, I want to take pictures of birds at several different states of flight. So he hollowed out a rifle and put, like, cameras in it, and when he wanted to go take a picture of a bird in, like, a few different states of flight, he just pointed up in the sky and just and took, like, 5 pictures at the same time. And then he looked at him back, and people were like, you know what? What if we kind of, like, kept going with that idea? Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of helped create the video camera. And that is so funny to me that there was a guy out there who was like, I got an idea. How about I put guns in? How about I put camera in my guns? Oh, so good.
Yeah, that's not what I thought you were talking about. But this reminds me of another thing, which is a guy who was working at Kodak, who basically made the first ever video camera. That was back. I think that was back in the 90s, and it didn't work the way that modern video camera works, but it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
And Kodak released it, and it was a massive flop.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny how, like, you know, his bosses were kind of like, dude, that's so stupid. That's never gonna work. And well, look, here we are.
It's true. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a whole art form basically due to flukes.
Yep.
How amazing is that?
Oh, that's great.
So,
Yep.
do we want to get into choosing next week's movie?
Sure.
So, I did something this past week.
Okay. All right. If it's what I think, then I'm very happy. But maybe it's not.
Binge read the entirety of the Silent Voice manga.
I fucking knew it.
So, I think that
Yeah.
in this very special occasion, I am going to override the randomizer so that for next week we can talk about the Silent Voice movie adaptation.
Awesome.
Yep. I'm so excited.
Dude. Silent Voice is such a good film, and
It's
I haven't
so
seen it
good.
in a long time.
It's been a few months for me, but yeah.
Right.
I'm very excited to talk about it because I won't obviously disclose all of it here, but I watched a lot, or I noticed a lot of things in the manga that were pretty different from the movie, and I'm very excited to discuss what changes were made and why I think it was a good idea or a bad idea. I'm really excited to talk about Silent Voice, obviously, because it's good. It's a good movie.
Right.
So yeah. That'll be next week's movie, Silent Voice. So keep a lookout for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited about that.
Me too.
So is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Honestly, this is gonna sound so funny, but the only side tangent other than the movie I had planned was Fred the movie. That was the Fred movie trilogy.
Right.
That was the only side tangent I had planned.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, there was one that I that I wanted, but it's like a big tangent.
Sure.
So not in this episode, but next time.
Okay.
I think it would.
Okay.
I think it would fit with. Well, I mean, I'm not going to keep it a secret because it's useless. But it's like
Ooh.
we've got 2 episodes that have an anime tangent, but yet we've never really talked about like Western TV shows, like live action shows.
That's true. We haven't.
So I thought it would be interesting to. I don't know how much TV you watch, but
I don't watch too much TV nowadays, but
Right.
I've obviously watched a lot in the past, so that could be fun.
yeah, no, and I think it would fit a Sound Voice more than Memories of Murder.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
All right.
Well, I think that's it for this episode.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for watching. Yeah, so you can follow in the description. You can follow us on our different social medias. You can also follow us on our YouTube channels, and yeah, you kind of do like the whole YouTuber thing of
Like, comment, subscribe, follow,
hit the bell.
follow us on Twitter, hit the bell.
Yes. Yes.
Follow us on Letterboxd. I like
Yes.
Letterboxd a lot.
Yeah, Letterboxd a lot. And yeah, no, thanks again very much for watching through watching this entire conversation of us just saying random shit about movies.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see you next week to talk about A Silent Voice.
All right. Yep. Sounds good to me.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Over